With every database, we need a way to add, read, update, and delete data. This is where the 4 essential CRUD operations come into play. Now, if you don't know what CRUD is, CRUD simply stands for create, read, update, and delete. And we're going to learn how to perform these operations with an Appwrite database using the Web SDK. More specifically, I want to look at the 5 methods that allow us to perform these operations with Appwrite. And before we get started, I want to do a quick overview of what these methods are. So we have create document, get document, list documents, update document, and last but not least, delete document. Let's jump to the Appwrite console really quickly where I can show you the database that I've set up for this video and also show you an important configuration that you're going to need to take care of before you can actually begin interacting with this database from the front end. In my Appwrite console, I've set up a new project and created a database with a collection that stores social media posts. For simplicity, each post will only contain one custom attribute called body, and this will just be a text value of our actual post. Now, in order to interact with this collection, we'll need to set some permissions. Otherwise, we're going to get this error message in the console anytime we try to make a request. So in our collection, we can go to the settings tab, select add role, choose any, and this is going to allow anybody to perform a create, read, update, and delete request to this specific collection. Now, moving on to the front end, we'll start by installing the Appwrite Web SDK with an npm install, and then we can begin connecting things inside of our JS file. First, I'll import the client class from the Appwrite SDK, and then we'll make a connection to my project using the project ID and endpoint URL. Next, we're going to need a way to connect to our database, so we'll import the databases class and create a new instance with our client object, and from here, we can begin reading and writing to our database collections. The first method we're going to take a look at is the create document method, which takes in the following arguments: a database ID, a collection ID, an object ID, which we'll generate, and a payload representing the data we want to add. We have the freedom of generating our own IDs, but Appwrite does provide us with a helper method from the ID class, which generates a unique ID. So let's go ahead and import that and call the unique method. Now for the payload, we'll simply pass in an object with key value pairs. So in our case, just the body of a post with some text. From this point on, every method we use will require at a minimum a database ID and a collection ID. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab these values from my console, set them in variables, and then simply add them to the create document method, and then we'll reuse them throughout the rest of this tutorial. To read from our database, we'll look at the first method we can use for this, and that is the list documents method. And for this, we need to pass in the database ID and collection ID. This method will return back a JSON array of the items in that collection along with a total. Now, if we want to retrieve a single item from a collection, we can use the get document method, which along with the database ID and collection ID also requires the ID of the document we want to retrieve as a last parameter, and this will return back a JSON object with all of its attributes. The update document method is similar to the create document method, but in this case, we're going to use the ID of an existing document, and the payload will replace the data that currently exists in that specific document, so it simply just updates the values. And last, we have the delete document method, which pretty much does what you imagine it does. We simply pass in the database ID, the collection ID, the ID of the document we want to delete, and it's done and removed from that collection. And that's it for this video. So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the Appwrite YouTube channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.